Get it in, don't stop. Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock.
And if you all are tuning in, you all have the keys. Who is this podcast for? I've been thinking about this my whole life pretty much. And I feel like it's the conscious and the creative people. And I feel like that because, here's why. So conscious people, what are conscious people? Who's tuning in that's conscious? Well, it's going to be the people that are thinkers. It's going to be the people that are speakers. It's going to be the people that read and the people that write. You know, these are the conscious people. These people care about words. They care about communication. They care about speech. You know, the conscious people care about words and communication and speech. You know, and I embody that for sure. I'm definitely a thinker and I'm a speaker too now. I identify with the word speaker. I speak for a living in my job in sales. And, you know, I read and I write. So I'm conscious in that sense. So we share in that. If you're tuning in, you probably engage in that. And if you didn't really identify with any of those words, then you might be in the creative bucket, the conscious and the creative. Who are the creative people? Well, I'll tell you, it's pretty simple. The creative people are out there creating. They're making things. They're starting things. They're producing things. If you're tuning into this, give me the, you know, if you've got the keys, you might be an artist. You might be a musician. You might be a fellow podcaster. You might be into video. You might be into photography. You might be a designer. I mean, you might be out there just designing stuff, digital art. You might be just a straight up artist. You got pen and paper and you draw or paint, whatever medium you use for your art, you know? So the conscious and the creative people, welcome. I put out some music. I put out some videography with it. They call that a music video. And so we're going to recap that video. I'm going to do a beat breakdown for that song, how I came up with a beat, what was going through my brain when I was producing all that sound, and then go through how I, you know, directed that video, self-directed that video, what was I thinking, thought process. And then on the back half of this, I'm going to read some words from a book that I'm reading this month and share some thoughts about that, you know, the conscious and the creative. You guys might be seeing a theme here, but this is where we're heading. And let's kick this podcast off with a little something special. We're back in the stew. We're back in the stew. The keys are back in the stew. Last couple episodes, 2 weeks ago, there was no video. And then last week I was out on the balcony pod. I was out on the balcony doing the pod. And the balcony pod is popping off. I mean, triple digits. Let's go. Grateful. Straight gratitude piercing through my soul, seeing that video get some views. Thank God. The setup for this episode, you know, if you're into, you know, like I said, if you're a creative person, you might be wondering about the setup here. So this mic here, the setup's a little different. Usually I have the mic right here and I'm talking down into it. This right here is I have more space to speak. More body language can be had here. And the mic's up a little bit higher, and that's because I want to keep my vocal cords kind of up, kind of loose and open and relaxed. You know, I've been thinking about speech and articulation. I've been thinking about my articulators. Do you know what that is? You know, your lips, your teeth, your tongue, and your soft and hard palate. That's the roof of your mouth. These are all articulators that help you speak. And so if I want to grow in my speech and communication, which I do, you better believe I do, then I want to speak here. And I want to be able to express how I feel. So the mic's a little off kilter now. Just a little heads up, I guess. Just a little BTS, you know, behind the scenes. Okay. let's start with something on the shelf. What do we got? What do we got today? Today on this pod, we have Elephant Rock. Elefante Rocka, some call it. And this is a Pikes Peak Brewing. And they make an IPA. And today on the pod, I'm going to drink this. So let's crack into this. Hopefully it doesn't explode everywhere. That would be a downside. But let's crack into this IPA, have us a little sip, and then we're going to get into the content of the podcast. Give us the keys. Give them to me. All right. Oh, yeah. And that made a good popping sound. Clipped on my audio. Give me a second. And that was about 4.8 dB too loud for the old Logic Pro X over there. So I had to fix that. But let's take a sip of this and then get into it. And then get those keys, huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Last week I put out a new song. I dropped it. Said, hey, world, here's a song. Hey, to Spotify listener. I have 2 monthly listeners on Spotify. And I said, hey, you guys, hey, you two, here's some song. And I'm one of those listeners, probably. So do the math. You know, my music career isn't exactly taking off. But you know what? I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop. I ain't never gonna stop. You know, William Montgomery, Kill Tony. I ain't ever gonna stop creating because I love it. And that's, you know, whatever art that you do, you know where I'm coming from. You get it. I don't have to explain. You get it. But anywho, I put out a song. It's called Sometimes I Find. Maybe you know about music. Maybe you know about music production. Maybe you kind of don't understand really how music's made. We're going to get into how the song was made. So let's get into this. Screen recording on the iPad. I'll throw it up here as I do. So what we're looking at here on the iPad, this is the song. This is Logic Pro X. And as you can see, there's some WAV files here, some MIDI. And this is what a song looks like. Your favorite songs that you listen to, they all look like this in the technology. This is what it looks like. So let's just run through the beat. We'll listen to the separate sounds of the song. You'll kind of see how they piece together to create the sound that you all, you know, the final version. So here we go. It's so fun. Yeah. And this is the, you could call this a sample or a loop or a, you know, just a sound. I pulled this in. Oop, I pulled this in off of Looperman, free loops. And then when I heard this loop, I was like, this is definitely in minor because this makes me kind of sad. You know, I kind of like minor chords. C minor is my favorite. So I heard this and I was just like, kind of sad. Kind of made me want to cry a little, but it was also kind of hopeful and kind of, you know, whimsical almost. So I loved this sample. I pitched it up and I pitched it down, and then I brought in some dark bass, I called it.
Now I'm up all night trying to get this right. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, what's inside? Trying to find my life, trying to get this right.
Yep. And that's kind of the intro. It's really those two sounds. It's a loop and then some dark bass. And then as, you know, I get into the first verse, I'm going to drop some drums on ya. So I did use a template for this song. I used Mr. Travis Scott's Houston Fornication from Astroworld. You caught me. I actually listened to that beat and I programmed the drums based off what I heard in that song. So I pulled some inspiration for that. I programmed it to be, it's not the exact replica of it, but I just kind of listened to that, and it's like I've been using that in my music. I think about what I like. I pay attention to what I like to listen to. And if there's a song, I usually won't start a new song unless I have direct inspiration from another song, And some part of me feels like this might be like cheating, like, ooh, you're just copying other people's, whatever. You're just copying other producers. But no, it's like you should derive, everything that we create is derived from something that's already been created. It's all repurposed, no one's completely original, okay? You should know this, You're not going to make the most original piece of art, It's all kind of been done already. Now, I'm not saying you can't crack pavement and do something new, but realize that you're not going to be completely original. When I make songs, they're original, but they're not completely original. When I started this podcast, it's original, but it's not completely original. Do you get my point? Okay. So let's keep listening to this beat. .808's in there. The audio is off my iPad, so you're not going to hear this very well. Bring back in the synth, the sample, the loop, whatever you call it. Oh, I like this sound in there. This little... And that's just a stock Logic little just sound. It's called Planetarium Effects. And that really hits. That really adds something. That little... Kind of more of that tone. And then for the interlude, now I'm rocking with the words, call it easy. Yes, you want to come and see me. Slide across the beat, now I'm looking see breezy. All I did was I brought back in the dark bass and I added the pitched up sample. And then I took out the hi-hat portion and kind of spaced out the hi-hats. That's it. That's really it. That creates a whole different feeling though, right?
Yeah, I got this looking E. Now I'm rocking with the words, call it easy. Yes, you wanna come and see me. Slide across the beat, now I'm looking see breezy. Now I be rocking so free. Sometimes I find my mind won't even know why. Now I'm up all night. Yeah, making moves in my room all June.
So that's there. I added this sound in too, just a transition. Wild sounds, love it.
Yeah, making moves in my room all June. Can you please give me that keys and give me that news? Up all night, right?
So here, this is the vocal tracks. I'm obviously using auto-tune on this. I'm using Waves Tune. And I have a delay modulator underneath it. It's not articulated in the song. You're not hearing this, but it's subtle and it adds a little bit more character to the vocal take. Makes it a little bit fuller. Takes up more of the stereo field and adds some texture, they call it. And then I have some 1/8 echo sounds. So when I want to punch on my, sounds, I can punch through and it'll kind of echo, but you don't want your echo to drone on. You don't want it to, what's the word? You don't want it competing with the main vocal. So you want your echoes to be subtle. And then in there I have some ad-libs where I'm like, no. So let's listen to this and look at it.
Shake and bake with the move round two. Up all night, won't be crashing till noon. Don't look at me, I'm just having fun. Coda Paxi, throw it at me with the funds. In the trees with the weeds in the sun. Feel at peace, no, I can't be undone. Right and wrongs, that's not my only choice. Way off in the world, feel like Des Moines. Run it back, add a stack, a couple coins. Off my chest, kill stress, now feel joy. Sometimes I find.
Alright, we kind of get it. That's the beat. There it is. That was all the sounds. Speaking of vocal performance, I really care about speech. I really care about communication. You know, this wasn't even fully articulated in my own mind when I started this podcast, but as I've been doing it, I'm realizing, oh, I really value speech and articulation and vocal performances. You know, I think a lot about my voice and how it's a tool and how I can change my pitch if I want to. I don't have to be all monotone. I can get up here and I can change my pitch and I can get kind of low if I want. So anyways, I've been thinking about all this stuff. And music is a way, and I haven't even known this, but I learned this recently. I've been making music because I want to grow in this vocal projection. And so I thought that, you know, my naivety, when I was 20, I was like, well, if I want to project my vocal, it's going to have to be through music, obviously. But as I've gotten older and matured, I realized, oh, your voice, you actually speak every day. And you're talking to people more often than not if you're a well-integrated individual. And then when I got into sales, I realized, oh, my voice is actually, the words that I say and how I say them is how I make a living. So I got really dialed into this, you know. And then I started podcasts. Naturally. Natural progression, right? So, anywho, let's get into the video. That was the Sometimes I Find beat, the beat breakdown. I kind of explained it. I broke it down a little bit. And now we're going to get into the video, which, okay, let's talk about this video. The video that I created, okay, so this was Thursday night. The song was already submitted to the platforms, you know, days prior, and the song was dropping on Friday. So this is the night before. This is the Thursday night. I'm alone at my apartment. And I'm like, man, I really want to do a music video. That was my thinking, you know, my subtle thinking to myself. I felt a little silly doing all these raw takes in my apartment by myself, but I think the video editing came out cool. I was pretty pleased with my editing on it. For how spontaneous it was, for how much time I put in. I was like, I was pretty efficient with making this little video, you know. I was very self-sufficient for sure. But let's look at this. So let's just look at it.
So fun. Yeah. Sometimes I find my mind won't even know why. Now I'm up all night trying to get this right.
So as you can see, oh dang, that's a bad angle. It looks like I'm balding there. But as you can see, these are not complex shots. You know, I'm not downtown. I'm not in nature. I'm at my apartment with my 3-pan camera facing my face. And I'm speaking into it. But the effects around it kind of make it more atmospheric. And you kind of don't even realize how mundane I mean, if I showed you the raw footage, you'd be like, oh. So you can do a lot with effects. And I use a tool I use is CapCut. I pay $9 a month. It's worth every single penny. They don't sponsor me, but they should because I'm plugging them. But CapCut. Let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, what's inside?
Kind of love that shot. I mean, I felt corny doing this, but this is a cool shot with the lightning strike. I mean, that's kind of dope. stone cold looking straight into the camera. I like it.
Tryna find my life, tryna get this right. Sometimes I find my mind won't even know why. Now I'm up all night.
Yup. And so my whole concept for the directing this video was, I recorded the video where I made the song. So it was here in my studio where I am currently. And I literally wanted to capture what it's like when I'm recording, And then the vocal, I love that it's connecting some dot of like, this is how I am when I'm in my room by myself making my music. Go back and listen to my music. If people are curious, what is it like? I'm alone and I'm having fun. I'm alone and I'm having a great time when I'm making music. And I just wanted to capture that, just having fun.
Now I'm up all night. Sometimes I cry. Emotion in the all night. These diamonds rockin' on sight. Day flight, yeah, all night. Got 'em moving in my room on sight. Diamonds dancing on my left and on right. Taking time.
So I did one long take in here, and then I was like, okay, when I come into the second different vocal tone, because there I'm very high pitch, and then I get into, now I'm rocking with the words, so I'm coming over easy. I'm in this low tone. There I'm in my high tone, my second key, which I can't even do here. I'm scared to because it might sound terrible. I can't sing that well, but I'm working on it. And I was like, okay, when I get into this lower tone, I want to exit the stew and go walk out into the other room because I want there to be some variety. I can't shoot the whole music video in one space. And I love that it was kind of one take from when I started here. Like, this is all one take. And I think that's cool. I think that's from a perspective of videos that I like. I like that it's not cutting, to different scenery. One day, one scene I'm in the park, one scene I'm downtown, one scene I'm at home. Like, that's all. There's no cohesion. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it in one place. It's gonna be my apartment. So this continues.
Rocking with the words, so I'm coming over easy. Now I got this looking breezy. Slide across the room and see me. No, I'm out here looking freezy. Yeah, she wanna come see me. Yeah, she wanna come see. Cause I got this looking breezy. Yeah, I got this looking E. Now I'm rocking with the words, call it easy. Yeah, she wanna come and see me. Slide across the beat, now I'm looking sea breezy. Now I be rocking so free. Sometimes I find my mind.
And then I guess shout out Apple, shout out Steve Jobs, shout out my iPhone. Recording this now, I got the iPhone 15 Pro and I do all my creative things, most of my creative things off an Apple product. If I'm making music, it's on a Mac. If I'm recording a podcast, it's on an iPhone. If I'm shooting my own music video for my own song that I made on my Mac, it's on my iPhone. Steve Jobs, Apple, I support. You know why? Because I'm a conscious and creative person, and Apple greatly appeals to me. And it's an enabler, and so I will always use Apple. I'm an Apple fanboy. Newsflash. Whoosh. iPad, AirPods, Apple Watch. Annoying, but I love Apple. So I recorded all this on my iPhone 15, and the camera looks really great, right? The cinematic mode on the iPhone 15 Pro is spectacular. How's that for diction?
Don't even know why. Now I'm up all night. Yeah, making moves in my room all June.
I kind of thought this through, making moves in my room all June. I wanted to be coming into the stew. But the more I think back on it, it was kind of serendipitous. It was kind of by chance, you know. I started running because I'm like, oh, the next line is making moves in my room all June. I better run because the next line is,
can you please give me the keys and give me the news?
can you please give me the keys and give me the news? And now I'm doing my Give Me the Keys podcast in the room where I'm reviewing my own video. Break the fourth wall. Where are you at? I don't even know. I don't even know who's going to listen to this. But anyways, kind of cool. I was happy with all this. Thought that was a little bit deeper.
Up all night, right? I'm always trying to snooze. Back to back on the track, I'm making blues. Out of town, out of bounds, she fall through. Making plays, baby, but don't make an excuse. Shake and bake with the move, round two. Up all night, won't be crashing till noon. Don't look at me, I'm just having fun. Coda Paxi, throw it at me with the funds. In the trees with the weeds in the sun. Feel at peace, no, I can't be undone.
Kind of a subtle ad-lib. When I say in the trees with the weeds in the sun, I go in the sun, sun. I mean, it's a great ad-lib. And I don't think probably no one even notices this when they're listening to the song. But this is the level of detail that creative people think at. This is the level of detail when we take things into consideration. If you're conscious and creative, this is the level of detail that you analyze art. You know, the guy that paints a beautiful portrait, he's down there at the micro level thinking about every detail. That's what creative people do. That's what you do. If you're a designer and you're working on a logo, you're going to think about every single detail. That's your job as an artist, as a creative. So maybe I'm pointing out stuff that you're like, why won't he just play the video so I can watch it? Maybe that's your perspective, but from my perspective, I'm here to shed some light on the creative process. So that's what I'm doing.
Writing wrongs, that's not my only choice. Way off in the world, feel like Des Moines. Run it back, add a stack, a couple coins. Off my chest, kill stress, now feel joy.
So yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, like post, you can do so much in post. Because when I was recording this, I'm like, this looks corny AF. Like I am in my room on my sofa by myself, bobbing my head to my Beats pill in the other room, playing the song that I made that 2 people probably listen to. But, you know, this is all creativity, right? You know, and I think it came out great. I'm really happy with this music video. From a viewing perspective, maybe the video was to you. You're like, this guy made this. But from an artist's perspective, from a creative standpoint, this was just so fulfilling to handle the whole process in-house, myself, in my own creative way. That I can have an idea, I can think about what I want, or I can have let me reframe that. I can have a vision for what I'm creating. And then I can bring that from the future ideas. Ideas start in the mind, they're future projections. I can create that and bring it to the present. That feels amazing. And I am grateful that I'm able to create this art and that I'm able to share it with people. It means a lot that I can share it with people. It means so much to me. And that's a good segue into this last little bit. It's going to be a little bit longer pod. Thanks for sticking with us. Hey, we're getting the keys today. And thank you for liking and subscribing and listening. You know, the likes and subscribes don't matter as much as just people. I want to reach people. I want to affect them in a positive, inspiring manner. You know, this is why I do it. It's really why I do it. And so now I want to share a little, you know, we're going to kind of pass into a new realm here. And I'm going to read for us something that I read the other day that really got me thinking. And if you're a conscious person, you're thinking a lot. You're in your head. You're a philosophizer. You philosophize. Maybe you're an intellectual or a dreamer. And intellectual dreamers are in their heads, thinking ideas, thinking about concepts, thinking abstractly. So I'd like to transition into something a little more abstract. So the other day I'm reading, and the book's irrelevant. I've said it before, but the books are relevant. And I came across these words in this combination, and it made me think these thoughts. Potential. Potential. Potential is not categorizable. Potential is tragedy. Potential is comedy. Potential is good and evil, and everything in between at the same time. Potential is also not tangible in the sense that the things we consider must be tangible. Potential doesn't even exist except as what could be exist. But creatures such as us, do not contend with the present. We have to fight to be here and now. Left to our own devices, we turn our minds instead to investigating the future. What could be? That is the emergence of new being, new adventure, brought about by the conjunction of living consciousness with the great expanse of paradoxical possibility. Period. So I'm reading this the other day, thinking pretty much as hard as I can think. And the thing that stood out to me the most, it was the fact that it said the present is not what we most need to contend with. And I'm like, oh, that's right. That's actually true. The present, we have to fight to be here and now, which is so true. I've thought about that from my past. Oh yeah, I definitely, it's a struggle to be present. I think we all agree. Meditation is hard. We are constantly running through the gambit of thinking, thoughts, future thoughts, past thoughts, anxiety about the future, regret about the past, questioning the past, projecting about anticipating the future. We're in this state of thinking we are conscious. So he's right in that we have to fight to be here and now. But that's not the thing that we contend with the most. And that, for me, that stood out because it presented a contradiction from what I already believed. And that makes for very interesting reading. If you want to start a speech, if you want to grab attention, tell somebody they're wrong. Tell them they're wrong. Tell them what you know that they're already thinking, and then tell them they're wrong. When you tuned into this podcast, you thought it was going to be another video. You thought it was going to be another just whatever video. You're wrong. Put them in a dirt, put them in a shirt, put them in a skirt, take a shirt off. So if you contradict what someone thinks, tell them they're wrong. That'll grab their attention. Hey, I know you guys all showed up to hear this talk about business, but here's why you're wrong, and here's why this talk is going to be different. If I'm in sales and I'm knocking on a door, hey, I know this is a little bit random, but I'm just supposed to give you some heads up on what's going to happen here the next few days. Oh, you're here to give me a heads up on some work that's going to happen? Oh, I thought you were with sales. What's going on? Pique their curiosity. That's how you grab attention. So anyways, I'm reading the other day, and the author tells me that I think the present moment's the most important. He says, I know that you think the present moment's the most important, but here's why that's wrong. And then he shifts into new information, and he tells me that we have to contend with the future. We have to contend with potential. We have to contend with what could be. We don't have a choice in that. We can fight to be present, but we have to contend with the future and potential. And that for me was like, wow, that's true. So I've been filling my brain with a lot of content about presence last year. Been really trying to be more present. But I'm also tapping into this side of me that's creative, that's focused on the future and bringing creations into the now. So I'm having a lot of presence and future. But what I'm going to do is cross-pollinate these two ideas. These two ideas agree on that the past is irrelevant. You know, it's useful to think about the future and it's useful to be present. This conjunction of two ideas confirms that the decision to not think about the past is probably useful. So that's new information for me. I'm like, oh, okay. Future's useful. The now, it's good to be present. But there's really no use in trying to think about your past and hating yourself for what you did in the past. No use in that. Leave that behind. So anyways, give me the keys. We did it. We drank the IPA. We talked about music. We talked about creativity and consciousness, and we had some abstract ideas. Long podcast, but give me the keys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next pod.